Okay, so here we are after removing the main branches of the tree, and now you can sort of see the basic outline of this structure of the tree, which is just the main trunk itself. I'm going to be leaving these few smaller ones on here, and these are going to be sacrificial branches, just like the other larger branches were sacrificial branches. Now, I've done all this work with two tools: concave cutter and a folding saw. This is a silky gunboy. That's the basic styling points of this tree. Now we're going to get into a little bit more sophisticated tools, which are going to be grinders, meaning a grinder, a large 1/4-inch shank grinder, and a Dremel. And what we're going to do is we're going to round these edges on these to create a more natural flow. Now, what's happened in the past, and it's not really necessary to correct it now because it's going to always be a flaw with the tree, but it also adds a little character. This right here used to be a branch at one time as well, and it was left like this to heel over. And as you can see, it's kind of unsightly, but then again, it adds a little bit of interest to the tree, but I don't really care to do this on the tree any longer. If we smooth the cuts out more, it's going to be more of a transitional thing like this, where it almost looks like nothing was ever there. This will always be here on the tree, and I'm willing to accept that. It's completely healed over, so there's no sense in re-wounding this or trying to redo any work to this just yet. I may in the future, but right now I'm not going to. But instead of creating this issue again, I'm going to go for a more natural healing look to make it look like there was never a branch before. So I'm going to be using a grinder, 1/4-inch shank grinder. A lot of people use Makitas. I found a little bit more cost-effective grinder. We're going to see how it holds up. Don't know if it's going to or not, but we'll find out. And I'm going to also go ahead and do my roots at the same time and create a more realistic looking taper here. As you can see in this area, the tree does seem to have a little bit of reverse taper. And the reason it has that reverse taper is because of this right here. This was cut off, this was a new leader that was grown, and this branch was allowed to grow free to help heal this up. However, it's back here in the back, there was another one, and through both of these growing rapidly, it's created a little bit of reverse taper in this area. It's not real bad and it's not real pronounced, but it is reverse taper, and we do need to eliminate that now while we're doing this, so later it'll look a lot better. As far as the leader goes, I have a small bud here. I don't know if that's going to end up being the new top or maybe this here that's sticking up currently. We're going to have to wait and see. That's for next year styling. Now, another thing I want to point out is this year what I'm going to attempt to do is keep the top compact. Every time a branch comes out, I'm going to cut it back to one set of buds. Whereas down here, where I'm going to try to develop my main branches, I'm going to let them grow freely. They're going to have all the light, all the water, all the fertilization it needs. Like I said, I'm not going to remove much of anything on the soil in order to keep the roots intact, because the roots are where the energy is stored to grow these branches. I'm going to go ahead and also re-wound these areas here and take care of them with cut paste in order to continue the healing of these as well. These were also large branches at one point in time that were removed from the tree. So now that you see the basic outline of the tree, that is potentially where I see the front of the tree. I had a couple other options up here that I'm not sure what I'm going to do here yet. I know I needed to shorten this down just for this initial styling. There's a lot of dormant buds up here as well that are going to end up coming out next spring, which are going to be my next set of branches, and that's why I decided to do this now, is due to the extent of the dormant buds on the top of this tree. I'm going to have a ton of growth busting loose up here this spring, and I'm going to have to keep it in check by constantly pruning it back and allowing the lower branches that come out to grow freely so they can thicken up. Once they start coming out, I'm going to wire them immediately and let the wire cut in just a little bit in order to set the wood. Once I remove them, they'll be set, and I'm going to let them grow so rapidly that the wire marks that you would typically see in a tree are going to vanish, because the branches are going to grow so rapidly that they're just going to disappear. Now, I did that a little bit up here as well, and you can probably, if you look closely, you can see some wire marks here as well. those will actually disappear as well over time. They're not as bad as what I've seen in other trees, however, they are there. So over a little bit of time, a little bit of growth, a little bit more ramification and finalizing on the top, these will be gone. But it's necessary to set large branches like this to allow the wire to cut into the bark just a little bit. If not, you run a chance of, if you wire this branch here and you don't let it happen, it may come back. May not, but then again, on large things like this, it will, because these have a memory already. So we're going to hit the grinder and continue forward.